Hello, everyone. It's Dan King here from Fireside Strategic with our very first video cast of 2022. Really excited to be starting off the year on an extremely high note. I already know that it's going to be a high note because I'm high on our pre-conversation. It's Joshua B. Lee, the founder of Standout Authority. Josh, welcome to the show.
Dan, no, excited to be here and be the first video cast of 2022. It's always a good start to be able to kind of, jump in, have some fun conversations and, connect with an audience.
This will be a great fireside chat, I had no doubt. Tell me, why do some people call you the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn?
It's a funny a title that has been given to me, right? Like some people are like, do you really deal dopamine? Like, isn't that illegal? And I'm like, no. It's the human, connection, right? It's like we get dopamine hits as we go through different things. So it was funny. I was on a podcast, the Hustle and Flowchart podcast a couple years back. The friends of those Joe and Matt are good friends of mine, and they're like, when the podcast came out, they were like, Joshua B. Lee, the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, and it just made sense because, honestly, how we actually connect with our audience. Because Dan, like, a lot of people, we help a lot of our clients really leverage LinkedIn in a way that's more human. And the human aspect is that those dopamine hits. And really, how do you actually get someone to a flow state? It starts with dopamine, right? Having those feel good states, and how we actually start conversations, how we engage with other people, and how we actually really draw that conversation through really were many dopamine hits, keep putting someone in a flow state. And I didn't even see the whole dopamine dealer aspect, and it was kind of deemed that way. But yeah, man, happy to jump in even deeper and explain exactly how we do that, but I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic way to kick things off. Yeah, for those that don't know, dopamine's a neurotransmitter. It is not a drug sold on the street.
No.
And, we get a dopamine hit when something cool happens in our world, when we cross an item off our to-do list that we've been wanting to execute on for a while. And I think it's so cool that, you're knowledgeable about basic human psychology here, because most people who are using LinkedIn these days for lead generation, for growing their businesses, at least, the experience of so many of my clients and me too, is we get messages from people that don't produce dopamine hits, right? We get messages from people that make us put our guard up and get a little suspicious. Why is that?
Well, Dan, I mean, they kind of go through, right? They're, you and I talked about this a little bit. They kind of go through and they're like, I'm going to go out and message, or AKA spam, 1,000 people. And if I get that one sale, that one opportunity, they're like, yay, I got the sale, when they don't realize you just pissed off 999 people.
Yes.
There's a better way to be able to do that. How do you actually connect with people on a human level that, let's say those 999 people are not your ideal clients, but they can be advocates for you because you treat them like another human being.
Yes.
And that is the difference and shift that we try and be able to do. How do I do the things? I mean, a lot of my strategy, Dan, is just based on the things that my mother taught me how to be able to treat other human beings. I'm just doing it online. It's nothing new. It's like starting with things like appreciation, right? How do you appreciate someone for something they've never been appreciated for? In LinkedIn, there's a lot of cool ways to be able to do that really start a conversation that'll build to a relationship that'll turn into an opportunity. And I really believe that's the flow that it should go, not just straight into the, let me pitch everyone and just see how the cards fall. Because I mean, that's just old school thinking. And I mean, most of us don't like cold calls. We don't like cold emails.
Love it. So what's an example of a more human way to begin a conversation, to begin a mutually beneficial connection on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dan, let's look at it this way, right? Like we just went through one of the biggest kind of, human connected, things in our history, which is COVID, right? We're still kind of going through that. And I think a lot of times prior to COVID, we took the little things for granted. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I took a lot of things like not having to wear a mask all the time, being able to go out on dates with my wife without any issue, or the biggest one I took for granted, which was my kids actually going to school, not just to the other room while I was working all day. Right. I mean, I really appreciate that they go back to school now, and I don't want that to change. But on LinkedIn, it's the same thing. Have you ever seen the show on Netflix? Oh my God, I'm just went blank on it right now. The Social Dilemma.
The which story?
Social Dilemma.
I have not.
Okay, so the Social Dilemma was on Netflix, and it was all about how these social media companies have really conditioned us over the years, right? To be able to look for these different aspects. And we are conditioned to right now, on especially online, is to like, comment, share a post, like, comment, share a post. And we're in this constant pattern. We don't know how to be able to stop. The only way to actually truly be able to get someone to hear you is you have to create stop gaps in their pattern, especially online where we're overloaded. Like we've all been on Netflix and been like, oh, there's nothing to watch, when there's just too much to watch that we can't make a decision. So on LinkedIn, I look for those ways to appreciate those moments and times that we've taken for granted, like someone looking at our profile or engaging on our content. So like Dan, if you were looked at my profile on LinkedIn, which is amazing because LinkedIn, you can actually see who views your profile. They've looked at it. There's a reason why. To some extent, either they're looking for something similar to what you do, or they're looking for you specifically. So I start off with appreciating them for this and going, hey, Dan, just want to reach out and, say thank you for checking out my profile. Too often I don't appreciate this. I'd love to be able to connect with you and find out what pushed you to check me out. Right. See how that's a more human. I'm appreciating them going, or even like, hey, Dan, I saw you like my recent post. I just want to say, take 2 seconds out and say thank you. When's the last time you got a personal message and someone said, hey, I want to thank you for liking a post? Because you're like, well, I just do that on auto repeat because I like something and I move on. So it's creating those stop gaps. Now you're opening opportunity for conversation.
Yeah, I love that. And at times, so many users of the platform have so forgotten some of these basic aspects of human connection that even something very, very fundamental and basic is the pattern interrupt here, right? That's going to shock people out of their systems and realize, oh, wait a second, there is another human being here, and it can help them rediscover their own humanity while using social media, which we so easily lose sight of.
100%. Because so many people, like, especially if you're hiring different marketing companies, or you're trying to be able to do it yourself, like we hear about, oh, you've got to be within the algorithm. We've got to be within the algorithm. Well, the algorithms change. I mean, constantly, every 6 months. You're like, but if you're trying to do that, you're always trying to learn the next trick to be able to get in front of it. And then you got to learn the next thing. But if we stay within the one algorithm that truly matters, that doesn't change, it just evolves over a long period of time, it's the human algorithm. That is the one constant that we can truly go into. So if you understand the human algorithm, how we actually interact as human beings on that platform, you don't have to keep on learning the next new trick. You just have to remember how to be able to connect with another human being.
Yeah. What is it about technology and social media that has led us astray? What is it about the fact that, when we so often message people a basic outreach message, we say things that we wouldn't say if we actually met someone in real life, right? If they were right in front of us and we could look into their eyes. What is it about the filter of technology that distorts things?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's that piece that allows us, gives you somewhat anonymity, right? Like if they call you out or shun you, or, say something you don't like, or give you that no, it's too easy to keep on moving forward because we have access to so many people right now. Like, it's not like old school sales where we're in front of someone, and if you got a no, right, you actually saw the person, you're interacting with them, you are in front of them. If you're on a phone call with them, you're actually talking to them. We've gotten to a point of automation where we forget that's a real human being. We've gotten this whole world, Dan, everyone looks at it, well, whatever I'm doing is either B2C, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer, right? When in actuality, everything is actually human to human, H to H, because every company is run by another human being. Most marketers have just forgotten that, because B2C and B2B were just created by guys like me years ago to diversify ad spend. Truly.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of human connection, let's take a step back and tell our audience a bit more about the human that runs Standout Authority. Tell us a little bit about your overall journey. What led you to this point?
Oh, man, it's been a fun and exciting journey. I mean, I was kind of blessed and cursed, Dan. Almost about 20 years ago, back in 2002, to be able to start my first company. It was in the online advertising business, and when I say blessed and cursed, one of my first clients was a company that most people forgot about these days. They don't even know that it still exists to some degree, was MySpace. So I kind of rolled in based on being in the industry early. I got access to monetize the traffic on MySpace. We did, back then it was arbitrage, right? We actually helped them create some of the first social media ads that a lot of what you see today are based on. And, we would buy that traffic for pennies on the dollar, then turn around and arbitrage, which you take that ad and send it to another ad at a higher price, which back then was Yahoo or Overture, same company, and then make money on that. And it was great. It was like printing money. But I mean, in my young 20s, it's not always great. As a young guy, we just don't always make the right decisions. So I built a lot of different companies. I made a lot of mistakes. I pretty much monetized everything I could from every acronym you could think of online. And throughout that process, Dan, I mean, yeah, I control over 35 trillion online impressions on my own servers. I managed over $500 million in advertising, and throughout that journey, one of the biggest things I learned was there's a huge difference between actually traffic and actually true engagement. And that's kind of where I find myself today. I kind of went through a life reset about 7 years ago. We're outside looking in. I had everything going for me. I wife, get 2 kids, house, cars, didn't worry about money, multiple different companies. But I wasn't happy because I was actually concentrating everything on, the work was really driving everything, how to make that almighty dollar. So I kind of went through a reset. I went through a divorce. I walked away, closed down 10 companies. And at 36, I moved back in with my parents to be able to save time over money, and gave everything to my former, with a little bit under $1,000 in my name, started my life over again. And that's kind of where Standout Authority was born. How do I actually take what I learned with actually paying attention to these aspects of the human algorithm and how we're actually being online and humanize marketing, right? How do we actually connect? How do we educate, inspire, and draw people in rather than to sell them? It's so much more powerful. Someone chooses to work with you rather than you selling them to work with you. And so that's kind of where we are today.
It's almost this interesting parallel between your human journey and your business journey. You weren't paying attention to your own human algorithm, right? You were acting out of alignment, and you were becoming exactly what you train and help others to not do today, right? You were becoming the guy who is chasing people just to get the money, and it never felt quite human. And so it makes sense that you would achieve enormous business success at the same time, right, as you achieve the human success too.
100%. And it's been a blessing to be able to kind of figure that out, because now, like, some of my clients are the men and women that I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own company 20 years ago, like Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach or John Maxwell. And, we also work with, executives at Fortune 500 companies, being able to help them really connect and really understand that personal brands are so powerful these days. Because, like, when you talk about big companies, let's say, I don't know, Mercedes, Porsche, and Tesla, what face comes to your mind?
Well, as soon as you mentioned Tesla, Elon Musk, right?
Right. But could you actually give me a face or a name attached to the 2 other companies, Porsche or Mercedes, that have been around for much longer?
Yeah, that's
Most
true.
can't, unless you're a car guy or car woman. So, these are those things that we've shifted into that. And that's why I think it's so powerful that, like, especially post-COVID, well, I say post-COVID, we're still, still dealing with it and going through it, but we yearn to be able to connect and really build that engagement with our fellow people and the people behind the brands, not just the brands themselves.
Yeah. Is that because so many people get these days the importance of a personal brand? Is it really hard to stand out, right? A good question to ask the founder of Standout Authority. If everyone's trying to do it, is it harder than ever?
I mean, I don't think so, because everyone continues. We had so many people go in and like true authenticity was played out, right? Like, these entrepreneurs went in like, oh, look, I'm going to go through and give you my hard knock story, but, like, just be you, online or offline, 100% of the time, right? Like, if you allow your story to be able to just to be your story, not trying to be able to highlight it, not trying to be going through, allowing people to understand where you've been to be able to show where you're at now. Because people always go in and they're like, oh, let me tell you this, and this is why I can, help you make 7 figures, right? I don't care how you can help me. Show me how you've helped someone else. Show me how you changed your own life. Especially on a platform like LinkedIn, you can really stand out by being that person that's real and raw rather than overproduced.
It's interesting how there's been a repopularization of Joseph Campbell's work, I would say, in the past 5 years,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So we relate to people that not only share their hero's journey, but have done the work to really understand it at a deep level, so that
100%.
we can alchemize some of the darkness that we've all experienced. Instead of pretending that we haven't experienced darkness, let's be honest, we're humans, we fail, we've all done things that we're not proud of too.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Most of the time, it's an opportunity for alchemization, right? It's an opportunity to tap into a fuller aspect of ourselves.
Yeah. No, and Dan, I kind of look at it. I always call it kind of my like door to the couch mentality. Cause when you kind of think, I mean, look, I'm in my mid 40s. So, I've done it for a little while. I'm not super, old, but most people like, presume I'm a little bit younger than that.
Yeah.
But, door to the couch, like if I'm at your door and, back in the day, knock your door, hey, I'm Josh, I've got this pen to be able to sell you. We've all had that whole, sell me this pen kind of thing. Well,
Yeah.
in today's world, like before I even have half the words in my mouth, you're closing the door on me.
Yeah.
But Dan, if you and I have some kind of commonality, some kind of emotional bond or connection that has
Yeah.
put me on your couch, and I'm like, damn, man, I got this new pen. I don't have to say more than that, because more than likely you're going to take it from my hand and be like,
Mm,
dude, Josh, that's awesome. Tell me about it. Right. And so
yes.
that's what we have to be able to do on social. How do we actually build these commonalities with people that show them there's not this huge gap between us and them? We're
Yes.
similar, because people want to be able to connect with like-minded individuals,
Yes.
like-minded experienced individuals. And so that's what
Yes.
we have to be able to do to be able to stand out these days, just to be able to share truly who
Yes.
we are.
Yes. And our calendars are all more full, both of other things to do, as well as, access to information is so easy. There's ample opportunity to do anything you could possibly imagine. And so there's this obligation to pick and choose.
Right.
And what's interesting is that, we used to have a real monoculture. And Seth Godin has written so much
Oh, yeah.
about how, hey, now we're a world of tribes.
Right.
And so we can authentically connect with certain tribes, but not others. The real us is not going to resonate with some people, and that's fine,
Yep.
because that allows them to be choosy. Everyone can be choosy if we have a sense of who we are and who we resonate with.
Right. Right. I love that. I mean, I always kind of say, like, especially, well, doesn't matter if it's online or offline, like as human beings, we make decisions emotionally, right? Like
Mm,
we make a decision based on some degree of love or hate. We do not
mm,
make decisions if we are indifferent towards something, right? And this
yes.
is the biggest problem that I see with people online. They're so scared to be able to
Yes.
be polarizing online these days, to be able to
Yes.
have those haters. But guess what? If you want super fans, you're going to have those haters. You're going to have, as a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder says, you're going to have to
Yeah.
drink that haterade, right? Like,
Yeah.
because that's the only way these super fans are going to stand up, and you're going to be able to find your tribe. Because I don't want to be able to connect. If I can't hang out with someone for an hour and enjoy that time and go back, wow, I really enjoyed that. Like, I don't want them as a client.
Yeah.
And they probably only chose me because I wasn't open and honest about who I was and who I associate with and my
Yes.
values in the beginning. And maybe I didn't ask them theirs either.
Yeah. 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 Jesse's great.
Okay.
And
Jesse. Yeah.
I
Good friend of
do.
mine. He was actually in my wedding as one of my groomsmen. So we've known
Oh,
each other for many
fantastic.
years. Yeah.
Fantastic. Makes me think of the wonderful Churchill quote, do you really matter if you don't have enemies? Right. And totally agree on, yeah, we can go deeper with people to determine, do we really want to work with them? It's the
Right.
total antithesis of the LinkedIn spam bot approach.
Yeah.
I call it the calendar test. Like, I want to look at my calendar, and if I see a client there, am I going to smile? Right. Like, every name that I see on the calendar, I want to be smiling. And if I'm not smiling,
100%.
if I've met with them once already and I'm not smiling when it's the chance for a second meeting, then should they really be on the calendar? I'm
Yep.
not so sure.
It's that gut, right? Like the universe gave us a gut check. We have that
Yes.
gut feeling, right? And like
Yes.
I tell my clients all the time, like whenever we start, like if it ever gets a point that you get that gut feeling, like, oh, I got to get on the phone with Josh, like,
Yeah.
please tell me, because like
Yes.
we've now gone past a point that we are not adding value to each other, because
Yes.
if there's not equal value given, right? Like, how are diamonds formed? Two opposing forces come together at the same powerful strength to create something special. If one
Yes.
force is off, that diamond is not created. So pay attention to that gut. We were given it for a reason.
Yeah. Intuition is extremely powerful, right? We
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in front of computers and technology, and so we can lose sight of our bodies. But the truth is that if we really just feel into a moment, right? If we can separate ourselves from tech for a second and like feel into a moment, you can get, I know for me, I get a feeling of go towards this person or hold up a little bit, right?
Right.
And that feeling, I can't tell you everything about where it comes from. You know, there can be a whole discussion about where it comes from, but I know it's powerful, and I know when I trust it, good shit seems to happen.
100%, man. Right there with you.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what's next for you? You know, you've gone through this reinvention, 6 or 7 years of now running Standout Authority and helping companies build human connection that leads to authentic business and business growth. I'm curious, do you want to grow the business? Do you want to do something different? Like, what's next for you? What do you want to do next?
Yeah, no worries, man. Dan, I mean, like we think about that all the time, right? Trying to be able to look at your, your 3 year, your 5 year, your 10 year, right? Where you're actually going,
Yeah.
and this past year I was actually, blessed for my wife. She was in corporate. So she used to run personal brand, well, not personal brand. She used to run branding for the Microsoft Partner Network. And then she moved
Mm-hmm.
over to Gartner and used to run the branding for their digital networks.
Mm-hmm.
And she left 6 months ago to be able to come on with Standout Authority. So she is now the co-owner with me. And
Cool.
as we continue to be able to grow, like, of course, that's always a growing as we learn to not only be husband and wife, but also business partner and business partner, and to be able to grow that thing. Where do we want to go, and how do we want to be able to see that as we move forward? And, running an agency, if anyone tells you running an agency is easy, they're lying to you. I mean, like it takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to be able to continue to be able to do that. And especially one like ours, where we're not using automation, we're trying to use that human element, because I think things get lost in translation. We've seen it time and time again, especially with LinkedIn messaging or messaging in general, where you just have the auto messages that go back and forth. Most of us can see that. So we've got real human beings on our side. And yeah, we're going to continue to be able to grow that agency, but like in the next year, 2.5, probably year and a half, 2 years, Dan. I mean, like as we continue to be able to work with more of the higher end executives, these larger companies, we've got a couple of different public companies we work with as well too.
Nice.
Not just doing the implementation for them, but actually running the strategy, right? How do we actually come in and be more of the strategy on humanizing someone's marketing, not just LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's the vehicle. Everything that we do and teach, across our coaching or any of our master classes and things like that, like, yes, LinkedIn is the vehicle, but the strategy behind it can be used across any platform, right? I can go on Facebook and say, hey, Dan, thanks for liking my Facebook post, right? And be able to start a conversation. So this is kind of where we really see the natural progression of things is how do we get more on a strategy level to be able to affect this world? Because my legacy that I want to leave back is I've humanized the way we do marketing. We've reminded people how to be able to actually connect, right? Get rid of this whole mass selling all the time. And I had a hand in monetizing online because, as I said, MySpace was one of my first clients. We helped design some of those first ads. So like I have to be able to kind of fix to some extent some of this situation. I'll take responsibility of where I feel in my heart.
Yes.
And to be able to really shift, because getting to work with some of the people that I do, Dan, I'll tell you, man, it's been like, I get these smiles, right? Like working with Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach, like, one time we got this one message back, right? And you never know what you're going to get back when you just appreciate someone for something they've never been appreciated for. And with this gentleman here, we had just reached out, Dan had reached out and said, hey, I just want to reach out and say thanks for liking my recent post, and the guy's response is one of those that stick with me, that will continue to stick with you, right? Like he said, Dan, you're never going to know what this means to me. Today I'd actually planned on it being my last, but by you showing me to appreciate something I took for granted, it gave me new hope for this world. Thank you. I will continue on. That's it, though. It was just such a little shift that we take for granted, right? But as influencers, as business owners, as thought leaders, as we try to be, we have to remember everyone that made us this way. And you never know how big, how important an advocate really is, because they are so powerful, and just giving them that level of appreciation can truly change someone's world.
That is a lovely, lovely story, and really want to just emphasize how we're in this not just to make money, we're in this to change the world for the better.
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Exactly.
You could
Look,
write me
I
a
tried
check
to
for
just make the money.
$1 billion, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it if I didn't feel good as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love
Dan, I
it.
tried to just concentrate on the money, and honestly, it led me to a path. I mean, that was just, you do this whole, you hear this whole work life balance. Well, like I wrote my book, balance is bullshit, right? I mean, like it's more about integration because I did the work life balance, and yes, I had all the money. That's what I concentrated on, but it led me to a path where I was 45 pounds overweight, and I'd never been overweight in my life. My relationships were monetary, and I had no vision about where I was going. I just knew where I was at. It was all
Yeah,
work or play, and it luckily I was blessed to be able to. Yeah, it sucks we have to go that reset, but it allowed me to be able to be where I am today, and I was able to learn
yes,
from it. And I had people like Jesse Elder in my corner that gave me those permissions to be able to do those things.
yes. Well, it's such a beautiful moment, beautiful story to come full circle. If people want to, a couple last questions for you. If people want to explore working with you in Standout Authority, how do they do that?
Man, Dan, the best way I love to be able to do that is find me online, right? Find me on LinkedIn. And, I love to be able to build relationships, start conversations. So, like, if someone's listening right now, reach out to me. But on LinkedIn, don't just hit that connection request, hit that personalized note, right? Send me a personalized
Mhm.
message and say, hey, I heard you on Dan King's show, right? And what I really want to know is why you love Dan, right? Send me a message and tell me why you love Dan and be able to connect, because now that lets me build a better relationship with Dan too, because I can go, Dan, look at all these amazing messages I got about everyone that's listening, right? So not only are we going to build a connection on why you connected with Dan and the Fireside Strategic, but like truly we can actually go from there. So that's the best way. Find me Joshua B. Lee on LinkedIn and send me a message and let's connect.
And our traditional last question in any fireside chat is a very human question, unsurprisingly. So when you're not doing business, you're not building Standout Authority, you're not humanizing marketing forever, what do you do for fun?
I mean, I have two kids. So, a lot of my time, I mean, it's really being able to connect. I mean, my daughter has dyslexia and my son has ADHD. So really trying to learn, connect, and be able to change how they're learning, right? And honestly learning from them at the same point. And then on the other flip side of that, when my wife and I have some free time, I mean, we're foodies. So we love to be able to go out, explore new restaurants and, find amazing things. Living in Austin, Texas, it's really becoming an awesome opportunity with more restaurants coming in. So yeah, I mean, being active with the kids and then, enjoying life with my wife is where I spend my time.
Can't do any better than that. Josh, such a pleasure to be with you today. It felt just a wonderful energy through this conversation. The
Likewise.
storytelling, the wisdom, people will love it. I'm quite confident.
Thank you, Dan. I really enjoyed the conversation today as well.